What fundamentally separates us from robots? Refined Self is a Japanese indie game that explores this idea through the story of Utsuwa, a sentient AI whose creator has just died, leaving her alone for the first time ever, wondering what purpose her life serves. The choices and chances for reflection that Utsuwa encounters along this lonely and sometimes scary journey strike deep at this existential question, wrapped in a tragic story of doomed love. But before I continue any further, I would like to add a disclaimer for the topics mentioned in this video. When you're ready, press play. To start the game, we must first talk to a robot records keeper, who explains to us that in order to better understand ourselves, we will be playing a personality test game. In this test, every action we take, no matter how small, will deplete our energy, and when our energy runs out, it will assign us a personality. It also makes sure to note that there is no right way to play, and there are no ways to lose. Just play how you like. It is certainly an interesting choice to frame the gameplay as a personality test. While, yes, I think you could use this game as a genuine assessment, I don't really think that's the point. The test is merely a framework for exploration, because personal identity and character traits are fundamental to being a human. We then, as the robot Utsuwa, are taking a personality test to determine what kind of human we are. This is far less about you trying to find a category to fit into, and more of a reflection on what personhood even means. Also, to stress that every action in the game will contribute to our final results is a brilliant way to emphasize how life isn't just about big decisions. Every action we take, simple or complex, seemingly meaningless or essential, contributes to the larger scope of our lives, even the choice you make when you first start a game. My first action was to check the grave on the cliff, which reads, "Here lies Kusunoki," the name of the doctor who created us. But your first action could have been to head into town, in which there are many things to do. For instance, there's a mine to dig for scrap. There are also various sentimental places that trigger memories, like a bench that brings back a memory of Utsuwa asking Kusunoki if she will be disposed of, to which the doctor responds that it absolutely won't happen, and makes a promise. Whatever happens, we'll be happy together. After this cutscene, we get a note from the test itself. If I could give her a proper human heart and personality, she surely wouldn't head for that conclusion. This doesn't make sense to us right now, but all will be revealed as we continue to explore. In a small building, you can find two small robots fighting one big robot over a battery, with it being your choice which to give it to. I personally chose to give it to the small ones, since there are two of them. Without the battery, the big robot shuts down, which for a robot is basically death if nobody boots them back up. Speaking of which, next door, you can pay some coins to get advice from a fortune teller robot. Strangely, it doesn't really offer any specific advice, only warning you to wind the key on your back. It also asks you directly, why aren't you winding it? Not winding your key is as good as dying. Here is the first major clue as to what is going on. At first glance, it may seem like the fortune teller robot gave the robot equivalent of "don't die" as advice, but in reality, it was trying to convince her. For some reason, Utsuwa is choosing not to wind her key and will soon die. The choice of who to give the battery to is a reminder to her of what death is for a robot, shutting down and lying there lifeless. One might assume this choice could be due to depression after losing her creator, but that is not the case. We will need to discover what is going through her head. In order to understand her better, we should discuss the other robots that inhabit this town. The first robot you meet is Kokoro, who has nothing to do now that the doctor is dead, so she's taken up painting. She asks us to help finish a painting of a sheep. Personally, I chose to tell her to trust her gut and paint it the way she wants to paint it. The second robot you'll meet is Kibo, the helper-type model, who offers you something left behind by the doctor: coins, movement speed, or affection. When she's done with her job, she explodes. Later on, we will meet a few more. These robots are noticeably different from Utsuwa. They both seem to have been attached to the doctor via a specific purpose, while Utsuwa is more sentimentally attached. This becomes clear when we reach the laboratory, and more backstory is revealed. On floor 1, Utsuwa remembers a conversation with the doctor. She asks, "Why did you create me?" Kusunoki responds, "Because I wanted a friend, I guess." Utsuwa questions why she doesn't have any human friends, to which Kusunoki responds that when she was little, kids bullied her for having white hair, and she just has been adverse to humans since then. This conversation reveals why Utsuwa, out of all the doctor's robots, is the main focus of the game. She seems the most human-like of the robots because she was built to be the doctor's friend. This is a good time to bring up the fact that most of these names mean something in Japanese. As far as I can tell from internet searches, Kokoro means heart, which may explain why she was painting. Kibo means hope, which is why she wants to help others. Finally, Utsuwa means vessel, which makes sense as to why she would be the most human-like one. Perhaps her name suggests that her body is meant to be a vessel for a human-like soul. This motif about her body being special comes up later. First, we will need more background on the world at large. On floor 2 of the lab, we see a conversation between the doc and a man, who demands that Kusunoki destroy all of the emotional AIs. She refuses and they argue. On floor 3, we can read a book explaining that Utsuwa is the first model emotional AI. Also a book on gene preservation and regeneration, to which Utsuwa mutters something about the doctor's plan. We also get another conversation between Utsuwa and the doctor. "Why do you care about an old model like me? You're developing new models more advanced than me." The doctor replies, "Because you're my first friend. Firsts are important to people." This buildup leads to a scene down by the beach, where you are informed that they might really attack. It seems that those who demanded the destruction of emotional AIs have come with an army. You can try to hold out in a combat sequence, but you will eventually fall. When you awake, Kusunoki is fixing you up, and tells you that you were gravely wounded. Utsuwa asks her, "Wouldn't it be more efficient to rebuild me from scratch, and upload my data to a new body?" The doctor's response here is probably the most important line from the whole game. At least it is the most influential to Utsuwa. Well, data is data, but there's a you dwelling in there. Even if I made a fresh you with all the backed up data, I couldn't see you as you. Soon after this cutscene, the test ends. But before getting the results, Utsuwa wakes up and remembers that she needs to do something with her last bits of energy. This something is battling a robot I didn't bring up before, Inori, meaning prayer, the caretaker of the sheep. The battle is an intense RPG-style combat, and after beating her, she screams, why? Utsuwa then weakly says, "I'll be there soon, doctor," and returns to the doctor's grave, clearly on the verge of shutdown. At it, she acknowledges, "I understand that this act can bring no benefit, but if it can let me feel just slightly the doctor's warmth, that's what's motivating me." And we fade to black. The game is cleared and you now may view your personality test results. So far, we can get a pretty decently clear picture of what is going on here. Utsuwa has made the decision to let herself shut down. This choice has been influenced by her experiences with the doctor. Especially important is the fact that the doctor refused to transfer her to a new body. This action taught Utsuwa the idea of a soul, that humans may not just be flesh and electrical signals, but something more. You cannot just transfer these signals to a new body. Whether or not you are religious, it is certainly an interesting concept. If humans have souls, could a robot have one too? Kusunoki certainly believes Utsuwa has a soul, and she cannot just transfer it to a new body. But what makes Utsuwa different from the other robots, like the small ones we must choose to give the battery to? Before we can make any more conclusions, we should explore some more. The game itself tells us that we should play at least 3 times to truly understand it. In starting the second playthrough, we see the doctor desperately pleading next to a computer, "Why won't it work out? Please let this personality succeed." Whether this is a memory or not is unclear at this point. You now have another chance to explore the world, with some of the dialogue options being different. At this point, I discovered a note in Utsuwa's inventory, which reads, "To regenerate me, care for the sheep. Let's meet in 100 years. Now, to be fair, I'm not sure if this note can be found in the first playthrough or not, but I think it makes more sense to be found in the second. This is the aforementioned doctor's plan, to be regenerated long after she dies. Other than discovering this note, there are a few more interesting things I did, such as go to the casino and meet Mirai, meaning future. But try as you might to get a different personality, at the end, Utsuwa will still attack the sheep protector, go to the doctor's grave, and shut down. This note and all the new clues about the doctor pleading for her plan to work now recontextualize that not only is Utsuwa letting herself shut down, but also in a way is killing the doctor too. Why she does this is the final thing we will need to figure out. In playthrough 3, there's a desperation in the doctor's pleas. "Please, I have to make it work. There's no time. Why can't she keep the promise to reunite in 100 years? In my third playthrough, there's just one new action I took that I want to showcase, and it was to smoke. By smoking, you unlock a cutscene where Utsuwa asks the doctor why she smokes, to which the doctor replies, "Because I have smokes and a lighter." This might seem like a little thing, but I think it is actually one of the most relevant lines as to what is coming next. Here, the doctor is confronted with how illogical it is to smoke, given that it erodes your body and increases your chances to die significantly, and simply states, she does it because she does it. Outside of the game, I don't smoke at all, and I don't support smoking either, but I can understand the sentiment here. There is something deeply human about recognizing that something is irrational, but still wanting to do it. This theme is quite relevant when we get to the true ending of the game. At the end of the third playthrough, after killing all the sheep, Utsuwa's full monologue becomes revealed. Perhaps to the doctor it seems like it backfired, but to me, this answer is the most correct, beautiful, and natural. "Doctor, I too will die. At your side I shall sleep." In this monologue, she reflects upon how technology could never regenerate the doctor perfectly, and thus she would rather die with her memory of the real doctor rather than live with a false one. She acknowledges how irrational this decision is, but that she feels it is right. This is Utsuwa reflecting the doctor's very own sentiment about souls and replacing bodies back at her. The doctor questions, why does Utsuwa destroy the sheep embedded with her DNA, and when it's all over, fail to wind her key and die? Utsuwa responds that she did it to fulfill her promise to Kusunoki, the very first one we see in the game, to be happy together. It doesn't matter how many times the doctor repeats the experiment with a different personality, because no matter the personality, she is herself. Her feelings won't change. Kusunoki doesn't accept this, continuing to run more and more tests while pleading, "I can't stop the plan now. All of humanity will perish. Nanomachines will erode humans' bodies. It'll only be safe 100 years from now when the nanomachines break down. I'll die very soon. If it meant you being taken from me, I'd rather everyone else died alongside me. I hated humans from the start, myself included. If in 100 years I could meet you as a new me, I'm fine with that. This is a reveal of why Kusunoki needs to do this, and ties in with the battle Utsuwa fought in. It seems that in a desperate move to protect her island of robots, she unleashed a nanomachine virus that will doom humanity. The only part of the plan that isn't working is Utsuwa cooperating and reviving the doctor after it is all over. After several more tests, Utsuwa finally screams out to Kusunoki, "Look at me. Look at the real me. You're the one who treats me most like a human, not as a temporary me, not as a thing you made. I have a heart too. I'm not just a vessel. Being left behind for 100 years and then living with a newly born doctor, rather than the real one, a doctor who doesn't know me, that would surely feel lonely. When you refused to build a new me, when you insisted on my old body, I learned about humanity from you. Personality is the result of a long course. You can't just look at the result. Surely you must know that, Doctor." This outburst sobers up Kusunoki, and she replies, "Obviously, of course I know that. I too know what feelings led me to do this, and for that exact reason, can I just give up here? If I give up, will I be happy?" After a brief pause, she proposes a solution, a radical solution. Erase your memories too. Start anew with a new doctor and a new Utsuwa. With this, you must now make a choice as the doctor. Go through with it or let things end. I personally chose not to, leading the doctor to run towards Utsuwa and hug her, crying and promising to spend the rest of her time with Utsuwa. We then transition to the credits, and a montage of the happy memories Utsuwa and Kusunoki had together. If you instead made the choice to erase her memories, it leads to a similar montage, but ends with a scene of Utsuwa sitting in a cafe and at the end turning her head, possibly seeing a new doctor. Which ending is better is ultimately up to you, but I think that the game's themes point a little more to the ending I chose, to not erase the memories and let things end. Thinking a bit more about the question posed at the beginning of this video, of what fundamentally separates humans from robots, I think that the game has a pretty decent answer. The answer lies not in physical traits or ability, like metal versus flesh or being able to draw hands, but instead in, quote, flaws. Humans are irrational, but not in a stupid way, like miscounting how many fingers someone should have. We are irrational in our beliefs, the emotions that drive us to do things even when they're not in our best interest. It is Utsuwa's decision to value the doctor's original body over a copy that makes her human. It is her belief in souls. It is her love for the doctor. Just as it is the doctor's decision to kill the whole world before giving up her Utsuwa that makes her human. To be human is to be complex and sometimes illogical, to take a path that a computer would deem inefficient. ChatGPT or any other AI will never believe or feel. It can only know 0 or 1. I think Refined Self is a beautiful game that does such a good job of exploring this complex topic. I personally think this game encourages us to live our lives more as human than as robot. We should be flawed and complicated people instead of one-dimensional, always knowing, yet emotionally absent chatbots that populate the internet. Don't be afraid to feel emotions. We were not meant to be robots that always choose the most efficient paths. Don't be afraid to pursue your dreams, even if it won't make you the most money. And lastly, don't rely on AI to write for you. Don't give up your humanity to laziness. Don't give it up for fear of failure. Be human. And with that, I think I've said all I have to say about refined self for now. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for 100% human-made video essays. A big thanks to my supporters on Patreon and Ko-Fi. It is support from viewers like you that allow me to create what I want to create. Thank you, and see you next week.